All right, we'll call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. tonight. We would like to inform all board meeting attendees that this meeting is being live streamed and archived for access at any time by our community members on the internet within 24 to 48 hours of the meeting's conclusion. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call when you're ready.
I do. Mrs. Barber.
Here.
Mrs. Junk.
Here.
Mr. Carey.
Here.
Mrs. Pavlik.
Here.
Mr. Rivas.
It's on out. I'm here.
Mrs. Witt.
Here. All right, quorum has been established with 6 people, and Mr. Lawler should be here shortly. So is there anything that anyone wants to move from consent to new business? Nope. All right. Seeing none, we will move to the approval of the agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended to add student discipline to tonight's closed session. So moved. In a second? Second. And a roll call.
Mrs. Junk.
Aye.
Mr. Carey.
Aye.
Mrs. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Mrs. Barber.
Aye.
Mrs. Witt.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0, and we'll move on to Superintendent Sleuth.
Mrs. Maris, if you could join me for recognition, please. Talking to the mic.
Tonight, we would like to congratulate Patrick Carter. So, Patrick, if you want to come on up and join us as well. And we are acknowledging Patrick for his achievement on the prestigious National Board Teacher Certification. This certificate is an advanced teaching credential that complements but does not replace a state's teacher license. It's a voluntary assessment program designed to identify great teachers and make them better. The National Board Certification process is designed to collect standard-based evidence of accomplishments practice. In all 25 certificate areas, candidates for National Board Certification must complete 4 components. The first one is a computer-based assessment, which is administered at a testing center on the content knowledge. And then he has 3 portfolio entries that he submitted online: differentiation and instruction, teaching practice and learning environment, effective and reflective practitioner parts as well. And so, Patrick, on behalf of Kaneland High School, I thank you for your dedication to your field and to your classroom, and I congratulate you on this great accomplishment. So thank you. Thank you. And I've got one more.
Please.
So, Ms. Sunday, if you could come on up with your group as well. Miss Mallory Sunday is our yearbook sponsor, and she came into my office one day last week with the yearbook people to share the following. Herf Jones is pleased to announce our best of publication, which is called their portfolio, and it showcases the best in-class yearbook work from students across the United States. And they're thrilled each year to see our students continuously redefine the yearbook landscape, and especially honored to showcase the achievement and creativity. They shared no longer scrapbooks of yesterday. Our students are tackling social issues and telling stories with impact and meaning. And the Herf Jones portfolio recognizes and celebrates this new kind of storytelling. So from the thousands of yearbooks printed by Herf Jones, 420 schools were chosen across multiple categories, judged by industry experts on various design and storytelling elements such as theme, coverage, and more, and featured staff truly epitomize the student innovation that came from yearbook classrooms in 2018. So congratulations to all of you. They have a hard copy of the publication that Herf Jones did with their part submitted in it, and there's also an electronic version that we'll get you guys access to as well. So congratulations. Do you want to share?
Jack, you want to
Oh, come on.
Oh, no. I just want to say it was all their hard work. I had just, everything I had to do was really just stay there and help them with any questions that they had, and really it was completely them, design, the theme, the writing, everything. So I owe it all to them. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Maris. Dr. Burchell, if you would join me for our next recognition, please.
Come on up, Clay. I thought you were going to leave me hanging there for a second. Yes, they are. So every year, the Illinois Career and Technical Education Association asks for directors to nominate teachers as exemplary CTE teachers. And when I look at the criteria that you have to go through, which has to do with pedagogy and community relations and technical ability, peer interaction, et cetera, Clay came to mind for a number of reasons. Clay has long taught our auto program, both Auto 1 and Auto 2. In the last couple of years, he has taken over our electrical program, and he has also begun our HVAC program, and he's also taken over our small engines program. And in all of those cases, he's done more training. He is now teaching at Kishwaukee College so that our students are able to earn college credit for the small engines program. And he just continues to push the boundaries and do great things with our students. And so I nominated him, and he was selected as one of the exemplary CTE teachers in the state, and he will be at a conference in Bloomington this coming weekend. And so we're really proud of him, and congratulations. Do you want to make a speech? Surprise! You out of the truck.
I wasn't told to.
That's okay.
But thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Those are our formal recognitions for tonight. So thank you, and thank you for coming out as we get ready to finish up salutes and move to the next agenda item. That would be your chance to exit if you would like to. Mr. Atkins, I would ask if you can get pictures of everybody out in the hallway so we can save those for the KCN. So thank you and drive carefully. So thanks. That was all that I had.
Anything else? No?
Okay.
There was our crowd.
And there's Fran. Meeting us.
All right, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes the following action items: approval of the treasurer's report to January 2019, approval of minutes of January 28, 2000.
Public comments.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Any public comments? No.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so then we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following action items: approval of treasurer's report January 2019, approval of minutes of the January 28, 2019 regular meeting, approval of resignations of employment of staff, approval of destruction of auto recordings from executive sessions July 2017, and the following informational items: the student suspension data report, and the field trip notification. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And a second? Second. And a roll call.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Rivas?
Aye.
Mrs. Barber?
Aye.
Mrs. Witt?
Aye.
Mrs. Jung?
Aye.
And Mrs. Pavlik?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. And we will move on to new business, approval of donation of the Fox Valley Career Center.
Yes. Dr. Fuchs, if you would share that donation, please.
Sure. We received notice from Dr. Burchell, who will be back in shortly, about a $2,000 cash donation from the IDEX Foundation. The purpose of this money is to support research to reduce cancer among firefighters. The donation was made, obviously, on behalf of the Fire Science Program, and it's a part of what Mr. Baum was working on through his research. And I think I had a board member ask, who are they studying? It's not the students, it's the materials that are being burned is what they're studying. And so with that, we are grateful for the support of this organization, private organization, and we recommend that the board accept the donation on the behalf of Fox Valley Career Center.
All right, any discussion? So I'll entertain a motion to accept the donation of $2,000 from the IDEX Foundation to be used in the Fox Valley Career Center Fire Science Program for research to reduce cancer among firefighters. Is there a second? Second. And a roll call.
Mrs. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Rivas?
Aye.
Mrs. Barber?
Aye.
Mrs. Witt?
Aye.
Mrs. Jung?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0, and we'll move on to J2, approval to seek bids.
Yep, typically this time of year, annually, the board prepares for purchases for common items that we do each year. So Julianne prepares this, brings it to the board, and she'll share some of the highlights as we seek bids to go out.
Super.
Hi,
This year is a little bit smaller than last year, so that's always nice to be on the off year of the big years. This year, the three things that we're bidding would be copier paper, which we do every year, fuel, which we do every year, and then security services is the 3-year contract typically. Please note though, that we also concurrently have the construction bids from our capital projects. Those are also ongoing. And then the things that we don't need to do this year but are on the list for the future, cafeteria food, milk, and bread. We never have to publicly bid it because of it being perishable, but please know that Gigi Statler, our food service director, she will get quotes from the vendors on the bids or on the products. And what she'll do is she'll compare it's a very, very large list of items, and she'll compare to figure out what we purchase most and which vendor is best to do that from. But inevitably, no vendor carries everything she wants, so she has to use the other vendor on occasion. And I think there are only 2 or 3 vendors that provide, and so she works hard at getting the most for her money. But because of the perishable nature, it's not necessary. Similar to previous years, custodial paper supplies, we use our cooperative purchasing to purchase those. So it's no cost to the district to belong to the cooperative, and we know that they go out and get the best pricing for those products. It's helpful to us because then we can pick what we want. At one point, we were changing out all of our paper towel holders, all of our toilet paper holders every summer, and that was not a good use of our maintenance guys' time. This way, we get the best of both worlds. We can keep those holders and things, buy the products, and we know that they've been selected at a favorable price. On the back then, we have the athletic training services. Last year, if you'll recall that, bid came in at $18,000. Mr. Rollman and I had a conversation with ATI. They're planning to present a proposal to us with 1 and 3-year options. I don't have it yet, but I assume I'll have it by next board meeting, most likely. And so we're not going to bid that because we're fairly confident that it will come in at under $25,000. If for some reason it does not, I'll certainly bring that back to the board so that the board can approve us to go and seek that bid as well. The rest of these, numbers 4 through 10, are contracts that were multi-year that are in the renewal phases. Copier services, year 1, sped, year 1, snow removal, year 1. Again, we had a big year last year. Fire inspections, year 1, disposal and recycling, year 1. Electric and natural gas we'll be looking to do anytime between now and next spring. So I anticipate in the fall, usually, every now and then around September, October, the market takes a good dip usually for us. And if we can capitalize on the market, I will let you know. Otherwise, our contract expires in spring, and we have to do something then. But we've been pretty fortunate the last couple of years. Our pricing for those 2 commodities have been very favorable. And so tonight, you're not approving any dollars. What you are approving tonight is to direct the administration to go out and seek the bids for those 3 products on the front page. And then once those bids come in, I anticipate the April 8th board meeting. I'll bring those back to you for approval.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, I had a question. On the athletic one, I can appreciate being another 1 year, but if you're bringing back a 3-year bid, even though it's under $25,000, why not let other people that might want to bid on it come along?
At this point, we've done, 2 or 3 contracts for athletic training services, and ATI has always outbid significantly the other 2 vendors. We can certainly send it out to bid if that's the will of the board. it takes time and money. And so if it's under the threshold, the question then becomes, do we need to? We certainly don't, but if the board desires to do that, if there's consensus, the administration would be happy to do so. Additionally, please note, we've had a long-standing relationship with ATI, and we're continuously pleased with their services. So that also takes into consideration part of our decision.
The reason I'm asking again, just to reiterate, is we gave them a 1 year.
Hold on, just,
Wasn't it?
no, that's what I was gonna, I don't remember, but I know it was kind of contentious when we switched, was it 3 years ago or 4 years ago? It was, because I remember there was some disagreements about it back then, and it's just kind of rolled over. Refresh my memory is what I'm going for, please.
Sure, we've sent it out to bid now, at least 2 years, if not 3 years in a row. We continue to do 1 year contracts because whenever we switch vendors, we don't want to do a 3 year on the first try, because if we do that and we're not pleased with their services, there's very little that we can do. So we continue to do 1 years, but we get pricing for 3, and it hasn't served us, it hasn't been in our best interest to accept the 3 at the time that we've bid.
Go ahead, Pedro, I just wanted to.
But what I heard was that you're potentially bringing a 1 or 3 year bid with these guys.
I am, but again, at the time that we bring it, or before, if the board doesn't like what they see, we're always welcome to take it out to bid.
Well, we will have nothing to compare it against.
No,
other,
but,
other than 25,000.
but if they bring a contract price of 3 years, and the board doesn't like it, at that point, you can take it out to bid, and you would get multiple vendors to bid on it at that time. Which again, in this market, there are only about 2 or 3 competitors. The pool is very narrow. And the board is welcome to direct the administration to send it to bid at this point. But again, the reasons why we haven't is we're satisfied with their services. It's under the threshold. And ATI for the past 2 or 3 years, I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly. I know at least 2, if not 3, have always come in lowest.
I know last time it came in, it was suspicious because it was like just right under the others, like $1. It's like, whoa. But
I remember there being a bigger spread. I can certainly look that information up.
But at the end of the day, it's, I don't know, I think competition is best, but at the same time, I can appreciate the service, the liking the service, being good to, you know, whatever service they provide all around. But I mean, I'm 1 of 7. So.
I would be fine with a rollover, but if we're gonna sign a 3 year contract, I'd prefer to see bids.
Okay, that's fair. Certainly, good information and feedback.
I'm good with it the way it's written. The way you're doing it is fine with me.
Yeah, so we're gonna see it again before we actually approve it, so we'll have another look at it, so. That's my 2 cents worth.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep that in mind, and,
And it doesn't matter if it's ATI or any paper, anything, if we're signing more than a 1 year agreement, I'd like to see bids on, that's all.
that's definitely something I will take into consideration and make sure that I note.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Well, one last thing. So if you're potentially bringing a, just say 3 year bid, they're going to expose their numbers. And then would it be fair if we say we need to take it out, would it be fair to the other bidders now? Because then they know what their numbers originally were. I
think that's a fair comment. I think you have to be inclined to accept their bid to go this route, and unless it's something surprises you, I think that's probably a fair statement. But I think that's fair.
Because that's what happens. You use a closed bid, right? And then
that's a
whoever
fair
comes
statement.
up on top, that's where you go with, and then obviously you compare things.
Yeah.
So what I'll probably do is give them a call and only ask for a 1 year price. And then that way they don't put 3 years on the table. There's no reason to do a 3 year unless if we want to. We can continue to do 1 years until we get back up to the threshold.
Dr. Fuchs, have you found if you do multi-year, it's annually, they give you a little bit of discount maybe in years in 2 and 3, or is it always the same price for all 3 years?
Typically, it's either the same price or they increase the price for years 2 and 3 by 3 to 5%, similar to the custodial contract.
Then I would say rarely ask for 3 years, if that's the case, just keep doing the 1 year. Okay.
Do we need to,
Would
do
you
we
like to
need
make
to
one?
change the motion though, if we're gonna only get a 1 year on this, or can we just do it as is?
We'll just say renew is above, so.
Because that's not going to be a public bid, so I'm not sure that one.
And it just says
Informational
that we
purposes.
anticipate that they're gonna give a renewal. It
Okay.
doesn't, yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation from administration.
Is there a second? Any more discussion? Any roll call?
Mrs. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Mrs. Barber.
Aye.
Mrs. Witt.
Aye.
Mrs. Junk. Mr. Carey.
Aye.
And Mr. Lawler.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. And superintendent report.
Yeah, thank you. A number of items. The first one is the Taste of Kaneland Committee meets again tomorrow night, weather permitting. Hopefully everything is fine. Mondays have been somewhat problematic, the last 3 Mondays on board meetings, so hopefully Tuesday's fine. And board member Junk and Mr. Rivas are on that committee, so 7 o'clock at the high school tomorrow night. We'll continue to plan. And I know the Crier has contacted me as far as an article, so they're doing an article on Taste of Kaneland and had a number of questions. So a lot of that information as we get closer to spring and into summer, more of that information will go out. We've intentionally held back on some of the planning because if we shared it too soon, then it would fall off people's radars. So we're kind of ramping it up towards spring and summer. 7 o'clock, yes.
6:30.
That's what I thought.
Oh, is it 6:30?
Yes.
6:30 to 8?
6:38.
I would have been a half an hour late. Thank you, Mrs. Junk. Then Monday, there's no school for President's Day, February 18th. And then next Tuesday night, February 19th, is our next round of, our next scheduled session for negotiations with the KEA. Then also next week, then the 20th, the Hall of Fame Committee meets, and that's Mrs. Pavlik. And we are, that is the February meetings where we annually look at all of the applications, and then we make our vote and selection that night, and also that night determine where and when the nominees will be recognized. So we should have that by the night of the 20th or the 21st, and we'll share that. I know Beth sends that out publicly in a press release. Then on the February 22nd, that is our CAC. That was the new date that we picked up when we canceled the January 24th due to weather. Then Saturday, the 20th.
I'm on that one too, right?
Yes, that's Gail first, and then Teresa, you were second.
Yeah, and I'm out of town, so I can't do this.
So it is Gail.
If
So
Gail.
does you, Gail.
It's me.
Okay.
I'm there.
Then if you can't make it, it'll go into a lottery.
Okay.
Everybody else will see.
President?
Right. See who's President. Then on the Saturday, the 23rd, we have our annual Young Knights registration and literacy fair, which is our kindergarten registration, and always look forward to that day just to see what our little guys or little kids are going to look like and what the new numbers will be for registration. Then as we move up towards the next board meeting, even though this is after the next board meeting, I still wanted to share it so we can get it on calendars, is the February 28th is the gallery walk. A couple years ago, well, the first 2 years we did the gallery walk as part of Kaneland 2020. We did it on the night of a board meeting, but our attendance wasn't strong, and pretty much once the board members left and other administrators came in here, it was over. So what we're going to do is we're combining it with a concert at the high school from 6 to 7. So I know a number of parents will drop their students off early. Concert starts at 7. So as they're milling about, we'll just kind of direct them to mill into the auditorium or into the cafeteria so they can check out the gallery walk.
So what time is the gallery walk?
6 o'clock to
Oh,
7 o'clock.
okay,
Then the
6 to
concert
7.
starts at 7.
28th, you said?
On the 28th, Thursday the 28th. I'll send it out again in the weekly update.
Todd, on the CAC meeting, what time is that?
That's 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, okay. And that's at the library?
Yes,
Okay.
at the high school. And then in Tuesday, March 5th, Julianne, you're heading up the task force. Do you want to share a little bit about that meeting, or if you have any news on that one yet.
Yep. So on that night at 7 p.m., we plan to do a security update again for parents in the auditorium at the high school. And it will be a similar format as in prior years, where we'll have an opportunity to share what things are happening in the district in terms of security and safety measures. Following that, then, the parents will have an opportunity to visit either the elementary, middle school, or high school administration to have some small, more intimate dialogue regarding specific buildings and their practices, which worked out pretty well last year. So.
Thank you. February 5th, the foundation meeting was canceled again due to weather. We didn't reschedule that one for a specific night because the primary topic on that night was to work through the details of the pork chop fundraiser. But since there weren't enough ticket sales for that, the Lions Club, in conjunction with the foundation, decided not to host that event. And so then our just next regularly scheduled meeting is April 16th. And that's, again, still 2 months away, but just wanted to share that one. And then also, one of the other, I think the last 2 board meetings, if not just the last one maybe, we shared information on the village of Sugar Grove as they were hearing from Crown Development on the rezoning out by Route 88 and 47, 760 acres there. I think it was either Friday or Saturday, the village of Sugar Grove received information from Crown that they were with Crown Community Development withdrawing that petition. So that item, as far as we know now from Sugar Grove, that Crown project is now dead at this time. So I just want to provide that update because as we had talked about that and whether there might be a TIF implication for our district and just the number of community members that contacted President Sparber and our board, I just wanted to provide that update too.
Is that the whole thing?
Yes, at this time.
The residential and the...
The residential and the commercial piece, yes.
Alrighty.
At this time. And they cited widespread public opposition as the reason for their decision to withdraw the petition. And if there's anything new or different, other changes with that, I'll let you know.
They still own it.
What's that?
So they still own the land, so.
Yes, yeah. So it might just be something different, but if it is, we'll let you know. Then we had talked a little bit about on our calendar as far as Senate Bill 28, 5 o'clock hours. That one is still being negotiated, still being heard by legislators. The latest update that we got that we received at LUDA last week was that they're hoping to try to keep it as is without modifications as the state works with those groups that are opposed to it. So we'll find out more. It's been through 3 readings, so it can be heard at any time. So when we get that update, I'll let you know. Then the other piece that is fairly new that we learned about in the last couple of weeks, also as part of Senate Bill 1, there's a minimum wage provision that is moving through legislators pretty quickly. Passed out of the Senate committee, I think 39 to 17, and it is now being ready to be heard by the House at any time. And so that one, I can share more information. I shared a little bit through the weekly update, but that one does have a long-term financial implication because there is a series of years in which they're going to ramp up, if passed as presented, ramp up the minimum wage in Illinois from the current of $8.25 up to $15 an hour by 2025. And there's a phase-in process, there's a phase-in, and I shared that information and I can reshare it again, but there's a phase-in to it, and the other thing that they're looking at, they're trying to negotiate back and forth a little bit whether or not there might be some regionalization to it, because it's $15 an hour in Chicago, the same as $15 an hour down in Cahokia. So they're trying to look and figure that out. I'm trying to see if there would be any change to that, but we're in the process of trying to learn more about that law, see what that impact might be. We've contacted our legislators. They've been willing to listen, those that are in our region here, Representative Wheeler and Jeff Kiker. We've communicated with them, and they've been very open-minded and listened to what we had to share. So if there's more updates on that, and at some point as we get closer, or if they do have the legislation that will be passed, we'll figure out what the financial implications are, and we'll make sure we bring those to the board as an update so that our board knows moving forward. Okay? Sorry, that was about 8 or 9 things, so thank you.
That's okay.
I just have one. We had an FAC, a Finance Advisory Committee meeting last Thursday night. Thank you, Mr. Lawler, for attending. And we had 2 primary topics that were discussed. One was during public comment, which was the Sugar Grove Crown Development, which is now a moot point, but I can certainly let the FAC know that they've withdrawn the request. And then the second thing is that the FAC had an opportunity to take a look at the financial projections and comparative data information that we've been sharing with the board since December. And so this was their first meeting since December because we didn't meet in January from the spelling bee night. And so now they're caught up with the board on the projection information.
Awesome.
Yeah, was there anything else that?
Anything or anyone else?
No, I just thought they had pretty good discussions going. We had a lot of discussions about the Crown Royal, but that's gone now, right? But they also brought up some good ideas about the comparatives, when we're looking at the comparative data for the different schools. They were looking at, teacher retention versus teacher salary rates. I thought they had some pretty good points, so it was a good discussion.
Good. Anything else? All right, so this time, I so don't want to skip public comment, but it's topic for future agendas. So any topics for future agendas first? No? All right, public comments? Nope. All right, then, we will have executive session tonight. No action will happen following the session, so after the vote to go into closed session, the recording of tonight's meeting will be concluded. Tonight, we're going to go into executive session for collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity, and student disciplinary cases. So is there a motion to go into an executive session for those reasons?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
And a roll call.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Mrs. Barber.
Aye.
Mrs. Witt.
Aye.
Mrs. Junk.
Aye.
Mr. Carey.
Aye.
Mr. Lawler. Mrs. Pavlik.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. All right.